I first got out of the car and you guys searched me.
In a chilling and heartbreaking case, Christopher Gregor stands accused of the unthinkable, causing the death of his son, Corey Micciolo. On April 2nd, 2021, Corey was rushed to the emergency room at Southern Ocean Medical Center in Stafford Township by his father. Tragically, Corey passed away shortly after arriving, and Gregor now faces charges of his murder. The story becomes even more harrowing when considering an earlier incident. On March 20th, 2021, security footage from the gym at Gregor's apartment complex captured a disturbing event. The video allegedly shows Gregor increasing the speed of a treadmill on which Corey was running, causing the young boy to fall. For this, Gregor is also charged with endangering the welfare of a child. Mario Gallucci, Gregor's defense attorney, anticipates a lengthy and grueling trial. Addressing Superior Court Judge, Gallucci remarked his testimony will be a long day. He predicted that if Gregor begins his testimony next Friday, it could potentially continue through the following Tuesday. The prosecution and defense have lined up key witnesses. Next Wednesday, a state medical expert is scheduled to take the stand, followed by renowned forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden, who will testify for the defense on Friday. Gallucci told the jury in his opening statement that Baden would argue Corey's death was likely caused by sepsis, resulting from an infection such as pneumonia. After Baden's testimony, Gregor is expected to testify. Previously, 2 Barnegat police officers and a sergeant from the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office provided brief statements for the state. Officer Daniel Dugan and Patrolman Angel Roman recounted a welfare check they conducted on March 28, 2021, at the request of Corey's mother, Breanna Micciolo.
Yes, Judge. So on March 28th of 2021, you were dispatched to the Barnegat Police Headquarters, correct?
Yes.
And that would have been at approximately 7:57 p.m.?
I don't recall exactly, but yeah.
And when you got there, you spoke to a Breanna Micciolo, correct?
Yes.
And Breanna is the mother of Corey Micciolo?
Yes.
And Breanna had made a complaint regarding bruises on her son.
Yes.
And based upon your conversation with Breanna, you went to 900 Barnegat Boulevard, correct?
Yes.
And that was an apartment at the Atlantic Heights complex in Barnegat, correct?
Yes.
And Patrolman Roman, he also went with you to that apartment, correct?
Yes.
And when you went to the apartment, you were there to conduct a child welfare check.
Yes.
And the purpose of a child welfare check is to make sure that a child isn't in immediate danger, correct?
Yes.
And in essence, the purpose is to lay eyes on that child to make sure that they're not in imminent harm, correct?
Yes.
And you got to the apartment and you met with Christopher Gregor, right?
Yes.
And you asked to see Corey.
Yes.
And you saw Corey, and you saw that he had a bruise on his legs, correct?
Yes.
And you saw that Corey had bruises on his arms.
Yes.
You saw that Corey had a bruise on his hip.
Yes.
You saw that Corey had a bruise on his chest.
Yes.
You also saw that Corey had a laceration above his eyebrow, right?
Yes.
And you spoke to Christopher Gregor at the apartment.
Yes.
And you also spoke to Corey, right?
Yes.
And when you spoke to Corey, you spoke to him in the presence of his father, correct?
Yes.
And you didn't separate Corey from his father when you talked to the defendant, correct?
No.
And based upon your immediate observations, Corey did not appear to be in distress at that moment, except for your observations of the bruises, correct?
Correct.
And you had no idea when you were at that apartment that there had been this video with the defendant interacting with his son on a treadmill, correct?
Correct.
And you have no idea how Corey actually got those bruises, correct?
Corey told me that.
Without saying what Corey said, it was just right. You had no idea. You have no personal knowledge as to how Corey got those bruises, correct?
Correct.
Now, you actually called in a referral to DCP&P regarding your observations, correct?
Correct.
No further questions, Judge.
Thank you. Will you read the record?
Yes, Judge. Please go ahead.
Good.
So, you went there to do a welfare check based upon what Breanna Micciolo had reported.
Yes.
When you went there, you met with Corey and you met with his father. Am I right?
Yes.
And what is a welfare check?
Just to make sure that the child, or if any welfare check, to make sure that that person's not in immediate danger, you know, self-harm, anything like that, just make sure that they're okay.
Okay. Now, Ms. Lento asked you if you were aware of a treadmill video. Am I correct?
Correct.
Well, you were aware of a treadmill when you spoke to them, weren't you?
After he told me about it, correct.
Okay. And when he told you about it, did he explain to you how...
Objection, Judge, it's hearsay.
Okay. Do you recall anything about the treadmill?
I recall him telling me about...
Look what this child says is hearsay, so.
So now, after you met with Corey and his father, and you did their welfare check, did you, as an officer, make a decision?
Yes.
Okay. And the decision you made during the welfare check was that there was nothing suspicious, as you just testified, right?
Yes.
And that there was actually a good relationship between the father, Christopher, and his son, right?
Yes.
Okay? And you took no further action, am I right?
I mean, we called Child Protective Services.
But you had to because it was a welfare check of a child.
Correct, yeah. When we saw the bruises, we wanted to obviously make sure that
So
everything is
you
okay.
need to, as an officer, you needed to report that you had this interaction with these two people, right?
Yes.
And after that interaction, you found nothing suspicious and a good relationship between a father and a son, right?
Yes.
What made you think to yourself, as you were sitting there talking to the two of them, that they had a good relationship?
They said that he, you know, the child rides his bike, they play football together. Trollman Roman said that he's observed them playing football.
Hold on. He may be qualified. Roman statements are hearsay right now.
Gotcha. But yeah, just nothing seemed suspicious while we were on scene there.
No further questions.
Your Honor, thank you. So you wrote a report in this matter, didn't you?
Yes.
And in your report, I believe that you used the words appeared to have a good relationship, correct?
Correct.
And you used the word appeared to have a good relationship because you didn't know the extent of the relationship between Corey and his father, correct?
Correct.
And you hadn't been in that apartment for more than, what, a few minutes when you used the term appeared to have a relationship?
Correct.
And you didn't know what would have been happening in the apartment when you weren't there, correct?
Correct.
And you wouldn't have known what would have been happening in the apartment behind closed doors when you were not at the apartment, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Judge. Nothing further.
But if you thought that there was a child that was in danger, that you were directly sent there to look at, would you have taken further action?
Yes.
Would you have written in your report if you thought that there was something amiss or something happening to a child? Would you have put in your report, nothing suspicious, seems to have a good relationship with each other? Would you have written that if you thought there was
Yes.
something wrong?
Yeah.
Thank you. Who are you employed by?
Barnegat Township Police Department.
And how long have you been employed by the Barnegat Township Police Department?
Just under 10 years.
10 years. In March of 2021, were you assigned an assignment to train another officer?
Yes, sir.
And who is that?
Patrolman Dugan.
Okay. And you just walked out of here, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you were training Officer Dugan, let me direct your attention to March 28th of 2021. Did you get a call to do a welfare check?
Yes.
Okay. And that was at, where was that at?
We responded to police headquarters to meet with the complainant at that time.
Okay. And that was Miss Micciolo,
Yes.
Breanna?
Yes.
Okay. And she gave you information, right?
Yes.
And then you responded to Barnegat with your fellow officer, right?
Yes, sir.
At that time, how many years of experience did you have? 7? I'm talking March of 21.
Just under 7, yes.
Okay. Had you ever done a welfare check before?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And during a welfare check, what are you trained to do?
Depending on if it's a juvenile, adult, make sure they're in good health. If they're being treated okay, if they have enough food in the house, if it's an adult, depending on the circumstances,
Now,
what the complaint is.
since you're training Officer Dugan, are you explaining to him what a welfare check should be?
Yes.
Are you telling him the things that you should be looking for in a welfare check?
Yes.
Okay. Are you explaining to him that if certain things exist, we may have to do something else?
Yes.
Okay. Now, during this welfare check, did you have an opportunity to speak to Christopher Gregor and his son, Corey?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And during that welfare check, did you see any bruising? Did you see any bruising to Corey?
Yes.
Okay. And describe for us where you saw the bruising.
Saw the bruising on his chest, his hip, legs, arms, and I believe there was an abrasion above his eyebrow.
Now, after you spoke with Corey and Christopher Gregor, did you do anything else with respect to that welfare check?
Yes, we contacted DCP&P. I don't. Okay.
As per protocol?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you inform them, did you give them any information?
Yes, which wasn't the first time.
Okay. So, had you seen Christopher and Corey ever prior to that day in that area?
In Barnegat Township?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And where had you seen them?
Barnegat High School football field.
Okay. And what did you see them doing on that Barnegat football field?
Gregor was throwing passes to his son on the field in the end zone area.
No further questions. Thank you.
Where did you see the defendant and Corey throwing passes?
At the high school football field.
Okay, and when you saw this, where were you located?
In my patrol vehicle.
Okay. And do you remember the time that you saw this happen?
I don't recall exactly the time frame, but possibly a couple weeks to a month prior.
Before Corey passed?
Prior to my incident of doing the welfare check.
Okay, so you saw this a few weeks prior to that, and you were in your patrol car when you were able to see this?
Yes.
And you didn't stop at that point, correct?
No.
Okay. And from your vantage point, you didn't see Corey getting hurt, correct?
I think I saw him dive for a pass, but not specifically appearing hurt after diving for that pass.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. No further questions.
After sending the jury home on Wednesday, both defense and state attorneys, along with the judge, reviewed body camera footage of Christopher Gregor. The footage was taken 2 days after the tragic death of his son, Corey. In this footage, Gregor can be heard talking to a police officer about the last 2 years, expressing his distress by saying, "I'm going crazy right now."
On your resume? Yes, sir.
Nothing on public statement hurt me or anyway?
No, sir.
This area you repeat?
No, sir.
Is this your vehicle?
Yes, sir. I can sense you guys searching the vehicle. It's nothing. I really am not.
That was on your bus over here.
You're telling me some kind of story about that? Yes.
Yeah.
So I saw the client, and very successful.
Yeah, so that's all we're. Well, I'm wrestling.
say if she could fly out, she's like, I'd like to be there with you on the drive back. I don't want to be alone. And I said,
You've
okay.
been dating her on and off again for 2 years and taking a second. You said good.
I mean,
Take me a second to figure out one thing.
I'm freaking out right now because there's like
I asked
police
her.
cars.
Come on, bro. You graduated college. You got better.
I went to grad school too, and I was a math teacher, so you know I don't know that. I just teach. Like those that can't do teach. But I mean, it's been an interesting past 2 years to say the least.
When you say date, you mean just like hooking up with her?
Not really. She's met my son.
Actually dating.
She's met my son multiple times.
We'll circle this now.
I did. I just, like I said, I drew a blank. It's more power.
So I asked her why she's here, what she was saying.
That she wanted to be here with me for the drive home, and she also might or might not say, because one of her main reasons was she didn't feel comfortable with me driving another 13 hours after I've driven so much already. Because I haven't slept well, as you can imagine. It's just, I don't know. I'm like numb at this point with everything going on, and this now, I'm like a little freaked out, because I don't know, my attorney didn't tell me everything's going on, so. Like I said,
That on radio, I'm talking to you.
and I mean, like I said, I think I said it to you.
We've had 2 things that don't add up. This one you're reaching into the side.
And that's usually where I keep my wallet, and I didn't realize that it wasn't here. And I played football, so I might have CTE shirts with that lost. I played outside linebacker. D2 school, it's NAIA, which is kind of like D2. It's in Lakeland, Florida, it's Southeastern University, like a little Christian school. But yeah, I mean,
Playing against the baseball. I'm pretty good.
okay. But like I said, when I first got out of the car and you guys searched me, I
got searched.
I just made sure that, that
Make sure you didn't have like grenades stuck in your pants.
exactly. But, if that was you, I apologize because I'm like tunnel vision. But I said, I don't mind if you guys search my vehicle at all. Like, there's nothing that I'm hiding. I'm really not, so I'm not worried.
We'll get to that very soon, man. So we're the same side and trying to figure everything out why we're doing all this. So
Sure. I imagine that you guys would know if there was a warrant associated with that.
Not necessarily.
I'm like,
State of New Jersey is ran by Democrats, so we don't really communicate very well.
you and me both. But I'm just, I don't know. Like, this is kind of got me a little freaked out now, Like, I was one to call Timmy's.
I got plans for lunch. I don't really care.
Some kind of internal leak or something.
Head?
No.
Side? Chest?
Like stomach area. Like something.
Yes.
I don't. He didn't have any bruising on him, and I knew when he got home, and I knew something was wrong with my gut, but I just thought she had home waiting for everything that he needed sleep. And I should have took him right from the beginning. There's a lot of me thinks like, it's partially my fault in the sense that if they truly did something, it would, you would actually be like for the drug addict coming, but he'd still be alive if I never came back from Baltimore to fight with Justin. And like, that's been going through my head this whole drive. It's just got me fucked up. They've been doing, they planted marijuana in my vehicle before, and I got arrested for that in New Jersey.
You arrested for marijuana?
And I lost my teacher license. I don't. She's a special kind of dirtbag.
You don't think they're being on that?
No, 100% no.
This is your car that you leased.
Yes. say the least. Sorry, it's mainly for like medical, but for there's not 5 for education, but I love making a phone call.
Not right now, but once this is all, we get this all figured out. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to call and get it down here. No, I just want to call my attorney and be like, you know what, what's going on? No, believe it or not, a lot of people don't talk like that in New Jersey. It's around it's the northern New Jersey people that they don't like. Yeah, not of my. So that's pretty fun. It's like Arkansas or Texas. But I drove hard. I genuinely, my brother's in California, or if you want to go visit him. Bless you. I left at 5:30 Friday afternoon. I drove straight without any sleep. I couldn't sleep.
I'm gonna need you to say you were in Texas, but if you were in Texas, where in Texas do you think you were? Arkansas?
I know I definitely was in Arkansas, California. But
That's way out of the way, right?
I was driving on, what was that, 40 or something? But
Where does it go to Texas?
I don't know, sir. I've just been driving for it.
How did you get 30 when you're in Texas?
My initial
Mexico?
text,
I'm trying to get the border from Texas.
no. I mean, if I was, I wouldn't be heading back to the direction of New Jersey.
Well, but hey, where was the conversation to pick her up at the airport here?
Last night.
At the airport in
Because the flight times lined up where she would get in at a specific time. I don't know, maybe it wasn't a flight morning. I didn't check the flights. I didn't question why. I just said okay. So.
It's a little more for us, but we got sleeves and stuff.
Yeah, I took mine off.
the sun's out at that, right?
I actually ripped them off on the drive over.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like